New series, 60-second Disney movie reviews, and we're starting with the one that started it all, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs was lightning in a bottle. While it was very much a product of the 1930s, it is one of those movies that is just timeless and can be watched and appreciated by any generation at any point in time. It has memorable and likable characters, it has a fantastic villain in the Evil Queen, who is one of the most visceral, real, and sinister villains in all of Disney, and Snow White herself is a beacon of optimism who everyone can find value in. The story takes you through the highest highs and the lowest lows, with optimistic and bright energy, as well as dark and horrifying energy. And it has one of the most triumphant endings in all of Disney. The music is phenomenal, and the animation, especially when you consider it was the first animated feature ever made, it's incredible, and some of that animation and that art looks worthy of an art gallery. This was a true passion project for many involved, and you can absolutely tell. And it's hard to overstate its impact on film history. 60-second Disney movie reviews, moving on to the second Disney animated film, Pinocchio. Pinocchio was the direct follow-up to Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, and thus it was Disney's chance to prove that animated films as a medium had staying power, and that Snow White wasn't just lightning in a bottle. And despite the box offices at the time, I think it's an unmitigated success. This was the era that Walt himself was really heavily involved in every facet of production, and you can absolutely tell. There's this strong level of care and attention to detail, both in the art and the story structure, that is just fantastic. Like Snow White, it has very likable and compelling characters, and it explores both the light and dark sides of what animation can do. Some of the most genuinely terrifying stuff in all of Disney comes from this movie, and its climax is one of the most intense and strongest in all of Disney. Structurally, I don't think it's as clean as Snow White, and there are aspects of it that I think feel a little unresolved, but overall the main story we go through with Pinocchio and his internal journey is iconic for a reason. 60-second Disney movie reviews, and today we're doing Fantasia. Fantasia is a masterpiece and one of the most significant films in film history. It was innovative for the time, and it's innovative still today. While more of a showcase than a coherent narrative, it really pushes the boundaries of what animation could do at the time. It finds that important intersection between visual art and musical art, and creates an incredible product out of it. I rarely watch Fantasia all the way through very often, but I do love to revisit all of the different segments of it. The Sorcerer's Apprentice is probably the best Mickey Mouse thing ever. The Nutcracker Suite is just beautiful. I love Greek and Roman mythology, so Pastoral Symphony always tickles my fancy. Rite of Spring gives a rare artistic merit to the scientific origin of life. Dance of the Hours is just pure fun. And Night on Bald Mountain in Ave Maria is just the perfect finale, with some of the most dark and sinister imagery in all of animation. It's just beautiful and visionary, and it's art. 60-second Disney movie reviews, and today we're going to tackle the one I've been procrastinating doing, Dumbo. So Pinocchio and Fantasia, despite being masterpieces, were financial box office disappointments. So Dumbo was created to recoup those losses and just be a safe cash grab, and that's exactly what it is. With the exception of the package films that I'm not going to touch on, I think it's the weakest of the Walt Disney era films, and it's definitely my least favorite. It's a short film that's mostly just cutesy padding, and it feels like it. The animation is impressive, but it's not pushing any boundaries the way that the previous three movies were. I think the baby mine sequence and the pink elephant sequence are really the only two moments of value from it. The crows are racist. They just are. So is the roustabout scene. It just is. And it has only made Dumbo date more and more poorly as life has gone on. Aside from those elements, it's a good movie for younger kids, but just doesn't have any value for anyone older than 10. 60-second Disney movie reviews, and our subject for today is the fifth animated film in Disney's animated canon, Bambi. Bambi was a movie they actually tried to adapt as the second animated feature film. However, because the book was so dark, they wanted to make it lighter in a way that they could actually market to children as well as to adults. Results were mixed at the time because Disney was so known for the fantasy genre from Snow White and Pinocchio, and so Bambi, being as realistic as it is, well, as realistic as a talking deer can be, kind of took people off guard. Nowadays, it's pretty much regarded as the masterpiece that it is. But I'll admit that while I appreciate Bambi on an intellectual and artistic level, it's just not for me. Aside from a little bit of tone failure, I don't think there's anything all that wrong with it. But I do agree with the criticisms at the time, being disappointed at Disney moving away from fantasy, the thing that set them apart. I'm also just not one for cutesy stuff. Credit where credit is due, though. The Man in the Forest climax is perfectly intense and a great ending to the film. 60-second Disney movie reviews, and while I'm going to skip over most of the package films of the 1940s that Disney released in order to save money during a period where the global market was limited due to World War II, there is one package film that I think is worth discussing, and that is The Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad. This film features two classic stories adapted for animation, The Wind in the Willows and The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. The Wind in the Willows is a great piece of satire with some really fun animation and some really likable and funny characters. Mr. Toad's Motor Mania, in particular, is pretty entertaining. But it definitely pales in comparison to The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. Sleepy Hollow has been adapted numerous times, but I think this is probably the best adaptation of it. Bing Crosby's narration is incredible and perfectly sets the tone, the animation is funny and vivid and full of great moments, and the final chase with the Headless Horseman is one of the greatest animated scenes in all of animation history. Not completely up to par to the feature-length ones, but it's an enjoyable ride nevertheless. 60-second Disney movie reviews, and today's subject is Cinderella. Out of all the Disney movies, Cinderella gets the most bad faith criticism from people who, quite frankly, haven't seen the movie in years. But despite common criticisms, Cinderella is a pretty perfect version of exactly what it's supposed to be. Cinderella was Disney's grand return to feature-length animated films after the package films of the 1940s, and such it harkens back to that same quality that Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs had. I don't think it's quite as good as Snow White, but it's still amazing. Cinderella herself is excellent, and Eileen Woods brings a lot of personality to the role. Lady Tremaine is a terrific villain, the stepsisters are so hilarious and so great, and the hijinks with the mice add great levity. The artistry and the music are beautiful, and it is just a beautiful film on most every level. If I had to pick a complaint, the prince himself should have had a much more active role in the story rather than the king. But at the end of the day, this is Cinderella's story, and that's the part that matters. It's a story of optimism, hope, and kindness, and that's important.